Well, good morning, everyone. I'll now call to order this February 5th, 2026 Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Chair. First, our staff support today. County Counsel Billy Williams, Clerk to the Board Andrew Jaraki. Commissioner West is on his way. Roll call, Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Commissioner Helm.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Present.
Chair Roberts.
Here. Thank you, Gary. Would you please now stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. First up is public communication. Testimony we have is limited to 3 minutes per person, so I'd ask your comments to be respectful and courteous today. As a reminder, you can also email submissions for public communication at bcc@clackamas.us, and they'll be accepted as part of the public record. So first up is going to be in-person testimony, and I have our clerk help moderate and the in-person and the virtual testimony. So Andrew, would you help us move forward with that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a reminder that if you're attending this meeting in person and wish to comment during general public communication, please fill out a blue card and deposit in the box that can be found by the center doors. I received 1 blue card so far. Mr. Wilson, would you please come forward, introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Eric Wilson,
Good morning.
and this is my wife, back here in the audience. And we live in Eagle Creek. We are here to address an issue. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, can hear you loud.
We are here to address an issue concerning the property on our shared north border. This property has a replacement home that was built in 2012, and the original 1920s home was converted to storage. Our lots are zoned for 1 dwelling. Our claim is that the 1920s home, building in northwest corner of property, is not a storage, in conflict with our county communications to date. We will support this claim with 2 arguments. First, the storage building is used for human habitation. Short of hiring a private investigator, we only have indirect evidence. Appendix G of the document I emailed in
We have.
has a photo of vehicles parked in the driveway, and I also have a couple more photos of home lighting. The second argument is much stronger and makes use of a bit of logic. First, we know that from the septic permit issued in 1986 that a house with 2 bedrooms is on the property. 2 key points: the word bedrooms, which would be indicative of accommodations for overnight stay, and the word home, implying a structure intended for living, sleeping, cooking, or eating, and eating. Second, we are familiar with the conversion process from home to storage. We successfully completed the process ourselves, and Planning and Zoning confirmed the process in our communication from October 2025. The conversion process consists of removing the kitchen range and associated hookup. So, what remains after removing the kitchen range? The bedrooms, kitchen cabinets, counters, eating area, full bath with hot and cold running water, clothes washing facilities, and utilities such as 200 amp electrical service, fiber internet, septic and well water hookups, and etc. all remain. These are all accommodations for overnight stay. Third, accommodations for overnight stay is the definition of a residential building occupancy classification. Fourth, Planning and Zoning Code 202 defines a dwelling as a building designed for residential occupancy. Therefore, the 1920s building is a dwelling house and not a storage. Am I out of time?
Go ahead and finish. You
Okay,
got just a little
so,
bit.
shortly. Having two dwellings on the lot causes several complications, as discussed in my paper. We are asking for one or more action items to come out of this presentation that will address the question of how many dwellings are allowed on our small farm zoning. Either everybody gets one or everybody gets two. And it is worth noting that a code enforcement action was completed in 2021. That's it.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Wilson. And we actually have Dan Johnson in the back of the room. I can tell you put together a lot of work here. I
did, yes.
Appreciate, yeah, you definitely put a lot of effort into that. And all of my colleagues received that. And
Oh, good.
just wanted to make sure you touch base with Dan Johnson in the back of the room. If you have any other questions, you might be able to address some of those for you. Gary, did you have anything else you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
so Dan is sitting, Dan, can you raise your hand? He's right there in the back.
I can't see that far. I'm rather visually.
Okay, that's okay. He will, before you leave today, if you could just spend a minute with him and he can give you an update on where things are at.
Who is Dan Johnson? What's his
He's
title?
the Director of Transportation and Development. He oversees code enforcement.
Oh, I see.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your presentation today.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Next, Mr. Chair, I've received a second blue card. Rob, and forgive me, I can't make it out. Klugev? Kugev, could you please come forward, introduce yourself? You'll have 3 minutes.
Terrible handwriting, I'm sorry. Scrambling. First, thank you for taking the time today, and thanks for your service as elected officials. My name is Rob Kugler, West Lynn resident, here today on behalf of Oregon League of Conservation Voters and motivating climate action together. There's a bill, I want to acquaint you with a bill that is before the legislature this short session, and encourage your support of it individually, severally, or as a commission, because it promises to provide, once the law is passed and implemented, funds for localities to build resilience against climate change effects in the future. The bill is SB 1541, known, I think, now as the Climate Superfund Recovery Program. The simple elements of the bill is it asks corporations which have contributed to climate change in Oregon and across the nation to contribute funds to pay for some of the past cleanup from disasters we've experienced. The period covered would be 1995 to 2024. The corporations covered, none of them have actual business that is have offices located in Oregon, but do business in Oregon, so the big oil companies. It would only cover a handful of companies. They would be asked to pay into this superfund to help recover the costs for the cleanup that we as Oregon taxpayers have borne the burden of entirely up to this point. They would not. Most people ask, would this increase the cost of your gas at the gas pump? It will not. This is recovering production costs that have already been expended by those corporations. They also could not raise their prices because it would put them at a competitive disadvantage with the smaller corporations, which will not be affected. So the fear that many people have that this would increase costs for consumers just is not a real concern. The value for a county and for a city is this will provide a big fund that counties and cities can tap probably through grant programs, asking for help in building resilience, building cooling centers for heat waves in the future. For Clackamas County, I think one of the most important components is the degree to which this will provide funding for wildfire resilience going forward and cleanup. 30% of the fund will be designated right out of the gate for wildfire protection. Senator Golden has worked very hard on this to make sure that this is serving particularly rural communities in need. So I encourage your support, again, individually or as a commission. The more support we have from city and county officials, the more likely this is going to get passed. It passed in New York because it was city and county officials who finally said to Governor Hochul, this needs to pass. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, hold on just a second.
Yeah.
I appreciate your presentation on this. Do you know kind of who is bringing the bill forward? And
Yeah, there's actually a hearing today in Salem. I had to choose between being here or the hearing. I was part of the right, really at the forefront of the movement in the last session, so I decided I should come here instead today. So Senator Golden has put it forward in the interim committee on natural resources and wildfire. There are multiple co-sponsors at this point. There's a lot of co-sponsors. We had a Republican co-sponsor in the last session. I don't know that we've been able to accomplish that this session. I'm going to be perfectly frank, because there's so much else before the legislature this session. My guess is what will really happen here, and this is important, it should get through committee and into the Ways and Means Committee and get a fiscal. And that's an important step forward for this bill, because we need to know how much it will cost to implement, because as I'm sure you're aware, there will be lawsuits. I was in Senator Wagner's office 2 days ago, and when he said, well, what about the lawsuits? What if this gets overturned? I said, you've got Attorney General Rayfield, who has learned how to defend and how to sue in very, very economical ways and in cooperation with other states. New York and Vermont have already passed this bill. They've already underway in terms of defending the law. So I think, it's the kind of thing, there are 15 other states that are pushing this right now. So it's really the cutting edge in terms of producing revenue for a state and for counties and cities.
Yeah, you actually, it's obviously have a vast background in this area, so I know some of my colleagues would probably like to talk to you or ask some questions, and I see Commissioner Savas has his light on. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quickly, we know it's a short session. We know there's a lot of bills and only so much time. And I think that I have a kind of a long-standing history of trying to understand how certain sources, funding sources, ultimately equate to what the metrics or the delivery or the performance of whatever the goal, the mission, right? Do the dollars match the mission? Are we accomplishing things? And so there are a number of things that have happened legislatively that have not materialized into what I think a lot of us expected. So the short question I have for you is, where are these funds derived from?
Yeah, good question. So they'll actually come, there'll be retroactive payments from big oil for the recovery, the cleanup costs. And the idea here is it's this really simple idea and it comes from the Superfund bill, the federal Superfund bill from 1980. So the idea that it's strict liability. You make a mess, you help clean it up. They haven't paid into that. So what we're asking is them to pay into it. So the dollars would come from them. So it'll be revenue for the state of Oregon that does not come out of taxpayers' pockets. The thing in terms of implementing, that is spending the dollars, one of the things I really like about this bill for local governance is it's up to local governance to say to the state, we need a grant to build a really big cooling center in Oregon City. That money is going to be there for you to tap. So it's not going to be money that the state can use for its own uses. It's really going to be, for the most part, dollars that cities and counties will be asking for. And I think that's really the virtue of this, because it really pushes the dollars down to the local setting and gives you, as the folks who control budgets and oversee those projects, the ability to really tap the funds, use the funds. And because this bill is, like I say, it's unlikely to pass in this session because there's so much else going on, and I understand that. I think what we have now is the opportunity to build support at the local level and make it really clear, and then rework the bill. If the bill doesn't look like it's going to serve local interests, then I think we just keep pushing the state legislators to make sure that it meets local needs. Does that answer your question?
It helps, it helps, and I would love to research and see how that worked out for New York, if it resulted in higher gas prices, and knowing the economic impacts of families currently. Households are struggling, right? Not all households, but a lot of them are struggling.
Yeah.
So I'd like to better understand, those mechanisms, and I think that there are so many different moving pieces and dollars out there that have, again, due to legislation, have resulted in higher costs, but we haven't seen the deliverables, right, to the point where I thought we would. Yeah. So I would probably just request that we set some considerable time on the agenda for a number of things related to this topic in general.
Yeah, and I am happy to come back and spend time with you. This is something, my start with this In June of 2024, I was getting ready to retire from Lewis and Clark as a college professor. I went to a friend at the law school who works in this area, and I said, Vermont just passed this bill. Why aren't we working on this? And she said, really, Kugler, you've got time. Why don't you start? So there we go. This time around, the coalition is so much larger. I'm just a little cog. So there's a lot of folks that are very, very interested in this, and we'll stay at it. So you'll see me again, I'm sure. So I don't want to take any more of your time unless you.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you very much.
coming here today, and thank you for answering questions and getting us more educated on it. We'll definitely look into it. Martha was already saying, now what was that bill again? And we're getting it down, so we're going to take a look at it too.
Yeah.
And you left your phone number as well on your card?
I did. Can you read it?
All right. Thank you very much.
College professor handwriting, so thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. This is a final call if you're attending this meeting in person, wish to comment, and have not yet done so, to please fill out a blue card and deposit in the box that can be found by the center doors. Mr. Chair, seeing no one else in person who wishes to speak, with your assent, I'll now move to those attending virtually. If you're attending this meeting virtually and wish to comment during general public communication, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that I see. This is a final call if you're attending this meeting virtually and wish to comment during general public communication, to please raise your hand. Mr. Chair, I see no other members of the public, either physically or virtually present, wish to comment today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll now close the public portion of communication for today, and I'll turn to Gary as to what do you have next?
Thank you, Chair. Next is the consent agenda. Andrew, would you please read the consent agenda?
Consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. Item A, elected officials. 1, approval of previous business meeting minutes for the Board of County Commissioners. B, transportation and development. 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland for as-needed building plans review assistance. Estimated agreement value is $150,000 for 3 years. Funding is through permitting revenue. No county general funds are involved. 2, approval of a supplemental project authorization with the Oregon Department of Transportation for Canby Ferry Ramp enhancements. Agreement value is $925,000 for 5 years. Funding is through the Federal Ferry Boat Program and county road funds. No county general funds are involved. C, Health, Housing, and Human Services. 1, approval of an amendment to a subrecipient agreement with Legal Aid Services of Oregon for legal assistance to older adults and family caregivers. Amendment value is $107,000, $179 for 1 year. Total agreement value is $361,017 for 3 years. Funding is the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved. Mr. Chair, that concludes the Board of County Commissioners' consent agenda.
All right, anybody want to remove anything? All right, may I have a motion?
Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
All right, Commissioner West has moved to approve the consent agenda as read. Commissioner Helm has seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, clerk, would you please call the poll?
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savis.
Aye.
Commissioner Helm.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Gary, what's next?
All right, you're booking through this meeting. Next is administrator update. That's me. I like to recognize our county employees during my time. Today, I want to recognize our outstanding road crews within the Department of Transportation and Development. They received a nice note from some work the road crew did in the Welches area, and the note says, I live on Salmon River Road in Welches. I want to salute the county road crews for doing some top-of-the-line work, reworking the culverts and ditches in our area. This is the best work ever. Agreed. Thank you very much for the note. Thank you to our road crews for what they do every day to help keep our roadways working smoothly. That is my update today. Back to you, Commissioners. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary. Well, now, what's up next on our agenda is Commissioner Communication, and I'll turn to my right colleague, Commissioner Schrader.
Well, I just wanted to let folks know I have the privilege of serving as vice chair this go-around with my colleague to my left here, Chair Roberts, and I'm really enjoying it. As you know, we rotate the vice chairmanship as we move through the year, and I happen to be the one who was up to do it. And so I actually got here on time this morning,
did.
too,
You're right
really.
here in.
I actually beat Commissioner, I beat you into the room
You
for a
did. I
change,
love
which
it.
can be a rare occurrence for me, actually. And then yesterday, I think my colleagues will speak about this, we had our board retreat. It was a full-day retreat, but one of the things that we've done in preparation for that treat is we've gone through our strategic plan. And if you watched our meeting the other day, we had an update of everything that we've been doing in the county. And sometimes, you know, you lose track because we do so much. But I wanted to thank the staff, and I wanted to thank Gary and all the staff that work with us, because we really are getting quite a bit done. Our strategic plan is moving forward with tangible objectives, particularly in housing, and I know that Ben will talk about this. We have hit every benchmark and exceeded every benchmark in the region with the number and types of housing that we have built. And I'll leave this for Ben to talk about when he has a moment, because we're going full ahead with our recovery center, which is going to be huge. I know that people around the region are starting, because of Commissioner West's work and our support, full support of your work, they are talking and speaking about how different this is and how it's probably going to change how we treat people with addictions and how we get them into housing. So, and also this past weekend, I made one of my ravioli dinners. I don't know if people realize that a lot of times I donate them to charity. And usually I have a great group of people. It's fun for me to do. I like to make them homemade and make my homemade sauce and have people from around the county come in and enjoy a dinner where I get grilled on what the county does and who we are, which is part of the fun of the dinners. And we've got another one coming up soon, too. So anyway, but that's all I have for the day, Chair.
Thank you,
Okay.
Martha.
Right.
Commissioner West. I'm sorry, I skipped. My bad. Commissioner Savas. I had to pause there for a second.
Second.
Yeah, I gave you all some of an update what was going on in the transportation world on Tuesday, and I know that later Tuesday, we had discussions about elements of the strategic plan staff are working on, and kudos to staff for the great progress we're making. Martha, Commissioner Schrader just touched on the housing piece, and you know, the long strategic work it took to get the recovery campus aspect moving forward, which is, you know, still, we're looking forward to when we break ground, right? We have a long ways to go, but we've done significant work, and it took a lot of thought, and it took a lot of strategy in order to get where we are today. And I think those are the kinds of different levels of strategy and strategic planning that are important. It's not just establishing the goals. It's not just the elements of the funding, where the funding comes from, but it's really about how we strategize to how we get to where we need to go. And sometimes I think that really comes from the board more than it comes from staff. And so I was hopeful that we would spend, you know, a lot more time on some of the big gnarly challenges we have out there. When I was on special districts, a retreat was usually 1 to 2 days. We did a lot of deep discussion on strategies to how we would get things moving. I know yesterday we talked about the jail a little bit. We talked about the future jail. We talked about a number of things, but you know, in my business practice, strategic planning or retreats were, you know, a day to 2 days. Some companies spend actually quite a bit longer than that, actually. So, you know, I know we had a valuable 4 hours yesterday of real time on the retreat, or elements of that, and hoping we can actually have spend more time, I think, knowing that households are struggling, I think it really, there's a calling right now for us to figure out and be more thoughtful about how we do those things. And I think while we cover some of that in a strategic plan, again, I think those deeper strategies are critical to making it happen. So that's what I have for today, Chair. I yield back.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner West.
Yeah, we did a lot of work on the strategic plan this last week. I thought it was productive. We've had actually quite a few retreats over this last year. And I think they've been productive, and we've been getting on the same page to do important work. I say this all the time: the government closest to you impacts your life the most and the life of your neighbors. The county administrator's update today, that constituent, her life would be much different if we weren't doing that work, and she would feel that every single day if that work wasn't being done. And sometimes we just go about our lives and it just kind of happens, but it isn't by accident. And sometimes when you don't know a lot about what's going on in your local government, it probably means you're humming along and just doing the work they were elected to do and that they were that the constituents are paying for. But Clackamas County is doing a lot of really big and important things, and we're leading in a way where there's been a vacuum of leadership. We're leading where there's been a vacuum and where others have not been able to be as successful. And we are very unique in our makeup. We talk about this all the time. We have these, I don't know if whoever's watching, we have this now at our dais, and it talks about our strategic plan 2025, 2020, 2030, and it's on the website. And it's a really good broad view to see where our focuses are. Now, there's other things that come up that we'll deal with. There may be a Senate bill that we need to look at, as we learned about today. But we want to focus on safe, secure, and livable communities. We want a strong infrastructure in Clackamas County. We want to figure out how to make our economy vibrant and affordable. We are focusing on healthy people, and that's important too, and public trust and good government. So these are things that we've been working on every single day that we're here, and then really focusing on refining this last week. So I thought those were good exercises. And I think that what we do here is replicatable, and it is an example of how good local government should work. Our strategists or consultants, they do this with governments across the nation. And yesterday, behind the scenes, they said they thought we were quite exceptional in how we manage our strategic plan, and different than even some other governments that they've worked with. So I'm proud of the work we're doing. We're always trying to be better and reflective and move forward in a way that helps our constituents. And so I see us doing those things, and we are here for you to share your thoughts, concerns. We want community to engage with us. We want you to be engaged in your local government, and we want to advocate for the things that make Clackamas County better. And that's all I have, Chair. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hill.
Yeah, thank you. I felt the retreat was worthwhile. I apologize having to step out. I was trying to do testimony for a hearing that was happening in Salem yesterday. I hope I didn't miss anything big, but I think we're on the right track. I really feel like we've done a lot of good work. I think one of the key takeaways from yesterday was staying focused on this, right? Because we tend to squirrel. I know I do too, based on constituents getting a hold of us, and our priorities remain on this, but we also have a lot of other things going on that we have to take care of. So I do want to share, I attended this morning at 7 a.m. in Tualatin. The Tualatin Chamber of Commerce hosted the 2026 State Economic Outlook. This is the chief economist for the state of Oregon, Carl Riccadonna, did a great presentation. I have to thank him for doing third grade level words for us and keeping it humorous so that we can understand, because it is very complicated. Kind of a couple takeaways. I took pictures of all the slides that he presented, but one of the things that number one, it's not doom and gloom. They have more money. He just presented this to the state yesterday. So you were probably there, Rob. It was it was good news, actually. Very, very good news. And for anyone who wants to go onto the State of Oregon website and read about it, it's only 80 pages long. So if you have a little free time in the evening, anyway, we're not in a recession. Oregon lags behind the U.S. post-pandemic numbers. Interestingly, Oregon and Colorado are the top 2 states for remote work. And I know that a lot of that influx went to Bend from the Silicon Valley area and stuff, and those are the big growth areas. You're probably all aware that there is a $1.4 billion kicker going back this year to us. And I think there's going to be a lot more surprises for people after the One Big Beautiful Bill is people did not change their withholdings. And so the response to that will be probably a larger check refund this year if you did not change your withholdings. So the other takeaway that was noted for me, there was a lot. This was a lot of information in a short period of time, and I love taking pictures of the slides so I can go back and look at the numbers and the graphs. They tell a very interesting story. Oregon, though, is predicted to grow at half of what it's grown over the last 25 to 50 years. Demographics are destiny, and there's only 2 levers that can actually affect that, and that is productivity and population. And if our population is not growing, it has to come through productivity, and that means labor and people. So we have a big hill to climb, I think, but I will say that it was mostly good information this morning, and I do encourage everyone to go read about it. It's fascinating. So that's all, Chair. Back to you.
Wow, that does sound fascinating. It would be great, I don't know if one of the chambers or something, bringing them over here to present. It sounds like it was very informative. I appreciate you.
It was a 2.5-hour, both with the presentation and the questions. So I had to leave to get here for this meeting. So I was leaving during some really good questions too that people had. There's a lot of reaction to the tariffs. And yet the data shows that has not, a lot of those were sent upstream and not downstream to consumers. So that was a surprise to me. One of the big questions hanging out there is how the Supreme Court's going to rule in the next month or so over whether whether they are allowed. And the tariffs took care, 70% funded the $2.7 trillion over the next decade of that One Big Beautiful Bill. Tax cuts, so if they are deemed, that just opens a major can of worms. So anyway, a lot of really great information, and I love these things because I love the numbers, and it's good to hear some good news.
Yes, that sounds good. So just a few comments, kind of echo some of my colleagues here on our strategic plan. And just to, again, I want to thank this entire board. It was a little less than a year ago, and thank Gary, and that we didn't have a strategic plan, that we all came together working on focusing on our strategic plan. We spent a lot of time, and the board, just recently, we had the opportunity to review 10 strategic priorities, and we heard presentations from staff. I was completely impressed about how staff is working so hard on this. I want to say they're doing a great job on moving these goals forward. And also, I know Commissioner West kind of commented on this, the consultants. And I'll be the first to say in my prior job, we did a strategic plan. We did all the stuff we were supposed to do, and it sat on the shelf. And we had to learn to kind of keep that a living document and to make sure that we're continuing. And managing for results, Marv and Jeremy, I mean, this is what they do. And they have helped work with staff, making sure that we're continuing to move forward on accomplishing these goals. And I would just say I was thrilled. It was, I thought, a great day yesterday hearing, and we talked about a lot of issues and just feel like we're making a lot of progress. And I just want to say thanks to my colleagues here that we're moving that forward. Just a couple other notes. Friday, February 6th, Senator Merkley is holding a town hall at Clackamas High School at 5 p.m. Want to let folks know about that. We're also announcing our Business in the County series, and commissioners will attend 3 forums hosted by local chambers and business alliances, and each forum will have a different focus. In March, we're going to be doing is available land and childcare, which we just had some updates on available land, which I was surprised about. And one of the passionate things is childcare, which Martha's been working on. April is transportation and transit. That's one of the things Diana Helm and Commissioner Savas have been definitely dedicated to. And then June is affordable housing and recovery campus. And my colleague down here, Commissioner West, has been leading that charge for some time now. So you can find more information on our webpage about the topics and how to register. Andrew's got that up for us right now, and a lot coming forward, and wanting to make sure we're out in the community talking about our priorities and how things are going. And the very last thing I wanted to kind of bring before my colleagues and just have a discussion, and that was we've been getting a lot of concern about the PGE and what's going on there, and is there anything that we as a board would like to do? I mean, we talked about some different options. I want to thank staff's been working behind the scenes actually on a lot of issues that are coming up, but I wanted to open that up just for any conversation about ideas or thoughts.
Well, Chair, I'll jump in a little bit on this. I think that would have been something that having a dialogue or time yesterday in the retreat for something like that that'd be one of the things that I know is top of mind to a lot of people that we could have talked about. And I know we can scratch the surface on it here a little bit, but I just want to say one thing before I talk about that, and that is that the strategic plan, as Marv and Jeremy shared with us, has been in place for 11 years, which it would have started a little bit earlier, but it is in place for 11 years. So, and I also want to say that as a result of the strategic plan, that we've done a considerable amount of great work in the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't want to dilute that. I don't want to diminish that work. Significant things have happened. Even the progress on the Recovery Center started, as a result of the strategic plan. So we've been well underway in a lot of areas. And so getting back to at least to the topic, Chair, that you want to raise, which is the PGE, I think there is, whether it's an energy thing, whether it's clean energy, green energy. The gentleman who spoke here earlier from the OLCV and about the current bill, there are so many different aspects that are driving, I think, the expansion of the electrical grid, if you will, and how that's done in our county and how that's done in a way that protects the character of our neighborhoods and our communities, the aesthetics, the looks, the feel of country. I think that's what makes Clackamas County really unique. So you have that on one side, right, trying to preserve all the great, beautiful aspects of Clackamas County, and yet we are trying to, and rightfully so, trying to adapt to the needs for more electricity as we continually grow towards trying to meet some of the climate initiatives, the laws, if you will, whether that's federal and state. So we are trying to follow the law and follow all those goals. And so on one end, we got to realize we got to build the infrastructure. On the other side, we don't want it to impact or look horrible or have power lines going through what would be a pastoral setting, right? So I can definitely understand why the community is maybe up in arms about this, and how this all went about really speaks to our land use system in the state of Oregon. So it just seems that sometimes our gears don't mesh. And I say ours, I'm not talking about the county, I'm just talking about government in general, especially at the state level. We're paying extra, businesses are paying extra fees, and in the hopes of getting more services to accomplish these goals, and then those monies get redirected legislative session into something else, and pretty soon the initial intent is not really recognized or honored. So I think all we're going to be able to do is scratch the surface here, but I just do want to convey that I just am concerned about how we go about and how we work with our utilities as demands for growth happen. I mean, there's a lot of concerns right now because there's roads dug up, whether they're in the Oak Grove area for a water line or they're a sewer line, and on Johnson Road for their west expansion, utilities, they make a mess and there's a lot of inconvenience. So there's the construction element, and then what it looks like. Fortunately, pipes are under the ground, so we don't see them. And I know that when we brought up the Stafford issue, we talked about how maybe perhaps undergrounding utilities is something that would accomplish the goal of keeping our county beautiful. I said a lot. I'll just yield back.
Any other thoughts, commissioners? Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say again, because this was new to me when I came on board last year, that I did ask, I got a lot of information from the Stafford Road folks. I went to a meeting out there. Their area is not unlike where I live, very pastoral, very beautiful, like we have in Damascus. And I would be appalled if they were putting these gigantic poles in my area as well. I did talk to staff about where are we in this, and we were told this was not our purview. This was a land use decision. This was the Planning Commission and a hearings officer, and our hands are somewhat tied. Now, then I hear too that our hands are not tied. So I am a little unsure. I don't ever like to feel powerless, but I do like to know I know that this is ongoing, there's reasons why the building is happening, even though it's under appeal. But I just want to say I empathize a lot with the people of the Stafford area, because I think this is not at all what I was expecting when this was first presented to me. So, yeah, I help me out there.
Yeah, one question I guess I'd have for all of us is while we might not have the final authority on this, and it's with LUBA right now, is perhaps expressing the voices of our constituents and the citizens that live out there, and basically in a letter asking for a pause. And so now how much weight that carries, I don't know, but at least we're kind of carrying the voice of those concerns citizens forward. And obviously we're waiting on LUBA, but I guess I'd like to kind of hear thoughts about that. I have two lights that came on. I'm not sure, is Commissioner West or Savas? I mean, Schrader. Martha, go ahead. Can I let Martha go?
Oh, okay. Well, I know the area very well because I live in Lake Oswego, and I share their concern. I certainly would be fine writing a letter to PGE expressing our concern, but I want to make sure that people understand how this land use procedure works. Okay. The decision remains effective unless LUBA, and this was from the hearings officer, all right, wasn't from us, it's the county, unless LUBA issues a stay, a remand, or a reversal of the county's decision. LUBA hasn't taken any action yet, and this is what the crux of the matter is, that PGE has the option, they took the option to proceed at their own risk while the appeal is pending. And they made that choice. So we certainly could write a letter with the intent of letting them know that that action surprised us and was premature, that usually you're not going to be putting something in the ground unless, this is cleared up one way or the other. Because if LUBA does offer a remand or a reversal, then the county will revoke the utility permit right-of-way work that is contingent on the conditional use permit that was granted by the hearing officer and issue a stop work order. So if it reverses the decision, PGE will be required to bring the premises into conformity with the zoning code. Now, that's a lot of land use talk, but I certainly think we could write a letter to PGE expressing our concern that they went forward before an appeal was actually decided one way or the other. So
Thanks.
that would be my suggestion, but it's up to the rest of the board.
Commissioner West.
I think PGE knows the likely outcome of this Luba case and where they stand legally, and they have more lawyers than God. So that's why they have the hubris to proceed. And oral arguments are scheduled for February 10th in just a couple days, and Luba is expected to issue that decision in just under a month, which weirdly is pretty fast for government. I have a ton of empathy for the property owners. I do feel powerless. I feel like we've been pulled into something and then have that empathy but feel powerless to help our neighbors at the level that we're at. We're very much dictated by statute and bound by what those statutes say. I haven't heard much from the state senator and the state representative that represents this area. So I'd be curious to know where they are in the short session to deal with this issue that their constituents are having. This is a land use issue. This is more probably in the purview of the state legislature. I believe it is am I right, it's Senator Wagner's district. He's the Senate Majority Leader. They're in session right now. It is worth a conversation with your state senator, the people that live in that district, to share your concerns about what's happening right now and the urgency of that. Representative, is it Jules? I think it is Jules. Yeah. Thank you. I'm like, I'm looking at the map and trying to picture it in my mind the district maps. But it's maybe the county, maybe they're willing to engage with us in a letter and say we have this concern. Do you have this concern also? Is there a way to take more time and to have a little more process to deal with the realities that these constituents are having? I'm open to that, but I just don't think Clackamas County is going to do much of anything by ourselves. So whatever that broader coalition looks like, if we want to engage in that, that's fine. And I think we've been very clear about where we've been, the previous board and this board. There has not been change in the viewpoint of Clackamas County. So the facts are the facts, and the realities are the realities. And so I would look to us maybe also to engage Senator Wagner and Representative Jules Walters.
Okay.
Great points. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I just wanted maybe, aside from any token letters, I guess, that would be perceived as token, but I just maybe ask Mr. Williams what legitimate options we have.
That's a good question. I'm not quite sure using the terminology of legitimate options, but as Commissioner West just laid out, there's a hearing on the 10th. So next week. And then the expected decision date from LUBA is March 5th. It would be informative to hear what the arguments are next week. I had asked Caleb and Dan to be present here today. They were earlier in the meeting, and then they're not currently here, and they could certainly, I think Caleb, having dealt with this during the prior hearing, could maybe guess, but I really think we might be better informed after we hear what the oral arguments are on the 10th.
Can I ask a quick process question? After we hear the arguments, is there time for the public? Is there additional time how does the rebuttal to those arguments happen? What's next after you hear those? Do they just recess until the 5th and everybody's waiting? What does that look like?
You know, if I was a LUBA expert, I could comment on that. That's why I can certainly ask Caleb on that.
Okay.
He deals with LUBA all the time. I don't know. This
Okay.
is a short answer, but I'll find out.
Okay.
Just another question. After this opinion is brought forward, there's still another appeal process. Is that right, as I understand?
Yes, that's my understanding as well. And I don't have a good answer at this point on the timing of all that, how long that takes. I mean, that's always literally a $64,000 question, or perhaps more with lawyers involved. But, you know, it's just hard to predict the timing of all this, like so many other things that are tied up in the courts, what the timing is. So it's nearly impossible.
Okay. So it sounds like kind of the consensus is hold off right now. I want to make sure I'm, how is that?
Well,
On the letter itself, or reaching out
I'm
to?
willing to engage with the Clackamas caucus, or even with the actual Senator Wagner and Rep. Walters on their thoughts on this too. And I don't know if we can even weigh in at all as a county at LUBA on oral arguments. I don't know if we have the ability to bring our thoughts and perspectives through public comment. And I don't know if, while in the short session, there is an immediate kind of action that can be taken, at least to allow the process to go through before they start putting poles in the ground, and maybe just stay and say, hey, you know, that's a lot of hubris there, but you're burning what little or if any goodwill you had by not allowing the process to be the process. And these neighbors, you know, it's a very sensitive community issue, and at least trying to like pull back a little bit and allow this to play out as it's supposed to. I think there's a different engagement we should be looking at, and maybe that includes a letter with them.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, but we'd have to, I think we should read it publicly and present it publicly if we decide to do a letter, but I think we should reach out to our legislature.
Sounds good. And so I guess, Gary, I mean, direction of having Trent help us on that and reach out to kind of facilitate that.
Yes, I'd just like to, so if, you didn't ask my opinion, but I want to share it. So legally, procedurally, policy-wise, there's nothing you can do here. You don't have the authority. Persuasively, politically, you do have the authority to do something. Write a letter, testify, do both. So can you just clarify, you're asking for us to draft a letter for testimony next Tuesday at LUBA, or a letter to PGE, or both?
I would suggest both. What do you, is there?
And how do we wrap in our state legislature?
It'll be difficult, but we can try in a few days here to reach out to them through the county caucus to see if one or two or all would be willing to sign a letter with you. We could work on that ASAP.
Well, especially like even if it's, I mean,
The legislators in that area.
yeah,
yes.
they're incredibly well-known, important legislators. I mean, one of them is the leader of the Sun. He's the most powerful men in Oregon.
Yes, we can work on that.
I mean, it's not like lost on us that he is in Lake Oswego area and he is the leader of the Senate of Oregon. So he might have a little bit of reason to engage with his own constituents there. And Rep. Walters is well respected in the building, and that's her district too. I don't know if any of that area
I'm trying to see if there's a bipartisan approach there. I don't think 51, it comes close to touching it, but I don't think it necessarily engages that bipartisan way. But regardless, if it's from the county level, the state legislature level with those, Rep. Walters and Senator Wagner, that's a good political kind of push to put on it. And then maybe it's a media approach. What's the media approach to highlight this? How are we speaking to local media to bring light to this in a way that's effective? I don't know what PGA would be willing to do too.
Yep. So I also though want to caution you, you don't want to undermine your hearings officer who made a decision, not on your behalf, but as a representative of the county. So it's a very fine path you're following here. If anything, I might recommend you focus on the letter to PGE, saying, would you consider? You're just asking, would you consider? You're not directing, you're not demanding, would you consider? The legislative letter would be to LUBA or to PGE? I'm still not following.
So engaging Senator Wagner and Rep. Walters to engage on this issue with us, and maybe they would sign on to a letter with us. Maybe they would look at a pathway that's outside the asking, hey, what can the legislature do right now to intervene?
To LUBA. I think the answer to your question is to LUBA.
Or is there a legislative fix that's fair? They got limited bills, but I'm pretty sure Rob's got a few in his sling right now if he wants to.
I think just to help Gary out on staff direction, and want to confirm kind of what the consensus is one to LUBA and one to PG. Do I have a head nod on that or not? I guess that's where I'm kind of at. And I know we're talking about also reaching out to Wagner and others, but I guess.
If the board wants to, I'm just an idea.
Yes.
Yes to all three.
Yes.
Okay.
One to each, yeah, but, yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing, Martha?
Yep.
Well,
I had my light on.
yeah, I know. I was trying to get this.
I think that's one approach, but I'm happy to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So Commissioner West brings up a good point as far as, I think that is one option that we ought to pursue, right, is, what's our state legislators doing that belongs in their district. So therefore, it's not unlike the coastal town that went up in uproar when the helicopters had been moved to a different part, right?
That's right.
Who got involved? All the locals got involved because it impacted them. It wasn't Deschutes County, it wasn't Clackamas that got in that because it wasn't in our backyard, it was in theirs.
Yeah.
This is in our backyard, and so I'm sorry if I use those words, but maybe I'll just reframe it. I guess as I read the material that we've seen and the concerns from the community, the part I think is, and this is where I want to get clarity, so I'll ask legal counsel the question a little bit differently, and that is, what levers can we pull, or have we pulled all the levers, and what are they, and what were the levers that we have pulled, and what levers are there left for us to pull from a land use standpoint, because that's really our only power.
I'll have the same answer. I'll consult with Caleb on this. He's the LUBA expert in our office. I am not. Good questions. I'll ask him.
Okay.
Right.
Do we
So
need
I
a
think-
motion, or do you have direction?
No motion here. Staff's going to work on these, and we're going to bring it back to you on Tuesday.
Okay.
And hopefully the LUBA hearing's later in the day, but we'll see what we can do and come back to you Tuesday
Okay.
with drafts.
Tuesday morning?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that conversation, everyone. And I did want to come back to Commissioner Savas about the strategic plan, because I didn't want to indicate that there hadn't been any work done historically. And actually, when I was sheriff, you guys brought in MFR. We came up with our strategic plan. In fact, I was kind of skeptical about Marv and Jeremy at that time, and then I jumped in with both feet, right? And so there was, and a lot of agencies or departments within the county continue to work on it, but at least my understanding, talking to Gary and MFR, what happened was that it came to a pause on the strategic plan, and that there was a plan that came forward, but it couldn't be agreed on and wasn't carried forward. And that was my understanding. So my thanks to the board that we came together And we all agreed to implement it. And so there was work done early on in the strategic plan. I don't want anybody to think that there wasn't. I just think that there was a pause and we regrouped and hit the ground running again. So anyway, with that, just want to thank everybody, and this will conclude our meeting.